Pleasant good morning to everyone and welcome once again simply to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Pleasant good morning to everyone. Guest menu looks like this. Jim Klein-Peter. Wow. He hasn't been on the show in a while. He'll visit with me. He's a contributing writer for The Advocate. We're going to talk a little Southern University football, pre-spring, here on today's show. Jim Klein-Peter, first guest. Then the usual guest will join me in hour number 2. Coach Van Pettaway. He's simply the Carlos Brown Show's basketball analyst and sports analyst. He'll be talking, I'm quite sure, Swac basketball predictions are out. All Swac basketball teams, both women and men's edition, they're out. And that'll be a theme throughout the show to discuss as well. Then last but not least, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, he had an assignment. And his assignment was what coaches in football are going to be under pressure. Not the spring, of course, during the height of the pandemic, or the recurrence of the pandemic, but perhaps fall 2021. And all of this is predicated on things getting better. And speaking of things getting better, I'm sure everyone exercised their right to vote. And I have a somewhat smile after November 3rd. You get my drift there. But we shall see. Hopefully this thing turns in a different direction. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Swac basketball predictions on the women's side. JSU rocks the house. They're picked to take the title on the women's side. And simply on the men's side, Texas Southern University. Now, guess what? I'm sure throughout this show, you're going to send me comments, questions, and I definitely want to hear from you. And it's on paper, it's good for conversation and discussion. But you know what we say here. It's going to be won on the court. And we know this. But Texas Southern University picked to win the men's title. So I'm going to hear from the audience and our guests, of course, talking about those picks. Of course, the all Swac women's and men's team are out as well. They just completed their virtual media day on the basketball side. And then last, but not least, the Swac mourns the passing of former staff member Milton Taylor. Now, every year, it seems like he was the first person I saw from the Swac office when I went to Swac football media day. And I was telling my best friend, wow, he's a tough looking guy. You know, he was just always in place, always monitoring, helping out when everybody's coming to Swac football media day. So it was kind of shocking. And these things are never a good thing. Or it's always a surprise when someone passes away, particularly when you kind of knew of them or knew them. But Milton Taylor passed away this past week. And then if you can go to swac.org, the article is the Southwest Athletic Conference mourns the passing of long-time former league staff member Milton Taylor. Taylor worked with the Swac for 15 years, from December of 2004 until December of 2019. Of course, in his role, he assisted with a variety of tasks, including overall setup, operations for conference championship, tournament events, and while also serving as a key office contact for the ordering and distribution of league paraphernalia and equipment. But now here's the part I didn't know, and I'm sure some of you did know this, but Taylor was a graduate of Alabama State University, was also a former member of Alabama State University's Marching Hornets, as well as the Hornets baseball team. And then from graduating from Alabama State, he went on to become the head baseball coach at Ramsey High School, located in Birmingham, Alabama. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family in the memory of Milton Taylor. So, Jim Kleinpeter, Coach Van Pettaway, Charles Edmond joins us on today's Carlos Brown Show. As always, I'm now going to check in and see if he's just simply all right. Because from 1 week to the next, he's in his comfort zone. He's living his life. And we will agree on certain topics. We'll disagree on certain topics, but none other. Good morning to Dr. Michael Prince, better known as Brother Prince. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother. How are you this morning?
I'm doing all right. Are you okay?
Man, I'm actually
Seems
great.
like you had a little ooh in the voice just then.
Oh, well, I'm about to celebrate my 29th wedding anniversary on Monday. We've been together for 31 years.
Anniversary.
Yes, sir. And life is good. Life is good. My wife and my daughter, they're having a little daughter day. My daughter came home from school to have a little weekend, helped me reorganize my office. Of course, it cost me. Now they're out enjoying it.
I understand.
But no, I'm in a good place, man. I'm in a good place. As my grandmother used to say, I got a portion of my mind, portion of my strength, and I got some food in the pantry, water and lights on. So all praises to God.
On that note, all right now.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, get your little takes in quickly. Before the show started, we had a interesting conversation, as always. Swac Virtual Media Day, of course, it's to drum up the expectations, the conversations about the sporting event. And in this case, it's basketball. Were you surprised? And let me just say this. We all know this is for a conversation to get the interest going. But with that being said, Brother Prince, what are your thoughts on the predicted order of finish on both the women's and the men's side?
Well, the women's side, to me, didn't surprise me as much, me personally. On the men's side, I'm going to say on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it hit my meter at a 5 or 6 due to the fact, that, you're the champion. And I actually applaud that. And here's why. To me, it puts that competitive chip on the shoulder for Coach Byron Smith and the Panthers. It gives them something to even strive further for, because it's a slight sign of disrespect, but at least they are mentioned from the men's side of things, of being in the thick of things, if that makes any sense. Totally different from my rant on the football perception. But I guess football has to work that out for themselves too, though.
Yeah, well, I did hear Coach Dooley point blank said it was his job, if this is what you're referring to. But
yes.
I could be wrong. But he did say on your Sunday night show that it was his job to make people talk about it.
Right.
Purview and have them in the conversation. And we can do this quickly. Swac predicted order of finish on the women's side. Jackson State, number 1. They're predicted to finish number 1. Texas Southern, number 2. Southern University, number 3. Alabama A&M, number 4. Prairie View A&M, number 5. Alabama State, number 6. Grambling State, 7th. Pine Bluff, 8th. 9th. Alcorn State, and 10th. Mississippi Valley State. Now, audience, are you surprised? Pretty much the predicted order finish on the women's side, you might could nitpick just a little bit, but it's precisely where I thought it would be.
Well, and that was kind of my response. Even I'm on the record for saying that Prairie View women would finish in the top 4, but to have them pick 5, tomato. I wasn't going to go crazy behind that because that's just, someone has to be placed somewhere. But being at 4, being at 5, at least from my perception, they're acknowledging that Prairie View's women's basketball program is going to be on that radar.
Well, and they have an opportunity. Usually, if you're predicting 4 and 5, they're very similar. I would give Alabama A&M the edge with what they have returning. Prairie View A&M,
it's more of a question
on
mark.
the women's side, did recruit well. Did recruit well. Southern University, and I had somebody last week after the show commented that it's the Jackson State and Texas Southern and everybody else.
And they're entitled to that, and I'm going to rely on my brother Herm Edwards. That's why we play the games.
And hopefully they'll be able to get through without any interruptions. That's what you're hoping for.
Right.
But on the women's side, and let's see, let's go. Listeners are kind of getting in quickly. Jack says, happy marriage anniversary to Dr. Prince. That's 1.
Thank you, brother.
And Jack's a basketball guru. I felt his fire a couple of times. He disagreed with me, but it's all in love.
Felt his wrath.
Yeah, predictions. The women's side was expected. The men's side was surprising. I would have picked Southern men as the preseason favorite. Oh, boy, we're going to have some interesting discussion, I believe. And then, it's 1 or 2 Prairie View Southern. And lo and behold, Texas Southern men get the nod.
Right. But and like you say, you could actually, and they may have done this, you could flip a coin because of the competitive nature of your top 4 teams in the conference. So I were to ask you right now, give me your top 4 men's program, top 4 women's program. It's going to pretty much line up in or around the projected order of 1 to 4 from each one, with my exception to the women's side.
Yeah. And I can see that. And you talk about parity, and then you talk about competitiveness. Those are the words you're going to hear. I'm going to be interested to hear what the audience has to say about all this. Also, Coach Pettaway, the basketball guru,
he's going to be fired up. He's going to be fired up. I can't wait for that segment. Not that your segment is not good neither, but I just love to hear Coach, man. That's my.
Well, no, I understand. He knows He knows basketball.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I always like to pick his brain, get his perspective on basketball and other sports. And speaking of other sports, I was trying to line up Rod Walker, but I didn't get a chance to touch bases with him. So with that being said, I kind of wanted to talk with him about Tampa Bay and the Saints, probably the big game of the week in the NFL.
Hey, what's your nerve meter on that game? Honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most nervous you could be, what's your nerve meter on that game?
10 being the most?
Yes.
Probably 8. I can see receivers running free in the secondary again this week.
Well, you know who's going to make their debut this weekend with Tampa?
Yeah. He makes his debut. Will Michael Thomas will he make his debut? Drew Brees' shoulder a little sore. They're gonna be fired up. They're gonna be ready.
Do you think it should have been sore? You think it should have been sore all along and just not really letting people know?
No, Brother Prince. Father Time is undefeated. Now I did see a stat where he's still number one in the NFL completion rate, 78%. But no, he cannot throw the ball down.
I was going to say, well, you can get 78% by hitting your running back coming out the flats.
Well, that's what they've been doing, and your number one receiver hasn't been there. And to me, with the Saints, it is still now most important for them to get a running game and to be balanced. But, the great Sean Payton, who, if I had hair, I wouldn't have hair because I'm going to pull it out, his play calling sometimes is very arrogant.
Do you think it's time to turn the page on him?
No, I wouldn't say that, but they're going to have to. There's going to be some changes forthcoming, and we've been saying that for a few years now. Their window of opportunity is closing.
No doubt.
It's now. It's not 2 or 3 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I was going to talk about with Rod Walker.
Well, I know I'm not Rod Walker, but hopefully it made you feel better.
Not really. Not really.
You're a mean dude. You are mean. You are mean, man.
Well, no, I'll make this statement as well. They're 5-2, but boy, not a good 5-2 to me.
Well, I heard you say that earlier in the pre meeting
because they have deficiencies.
Well, they have deficiencies, but you're in the NFL, and you can't just bat an eye at 5-2. I don't care how you got there. I don't care who you played. You play people who were just as professional as you were. Now, maybe they don't stink the way the Jets are stinking or, the Cowboys.
Don't even put the Jets in the conversation with the Saints.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. We stink as a 5-2 team. Okay, maybe you're a little
not a good 5-2 team. They're probably one of the weakest 5-2 teams in the league.
Oh wow! So then you don't think they'll beat Tampa this weekend then?
Well, put it this way: Tampa is favored, and I see why.
So yes or no? Will the Saints win?
I think Tampa wins.
Wow!
But I hope I'm wrong.
I got you.
See, I don't have the black and gold glasses on so thick, and the blue and gold. Some people, they don't have glasses on so thick they can't see anything.
I understand.
Your team is not good, and in your mind, they are world beaters. Okay.
Now, my team is appearing to be world beaters, but I still think there's room for improvement. I'm talking about, of course, my beloved Steelers. 7-0
to the Steelers.
Right.
So far, they've been doing an outstanding
and
job.
if you notice, I don't rub people's noses in it. I support them in season and out of season, good and bad. But here's something that I'm more excited about. If we can go ahead and take care of business against the Cowboys this weekend, it will submit another year of Mike Tomlin to guarantee himself not to have a losing season, 15 consecutive years. That is unheard of. That is underappreciated. That's what I'm talking about. And when you're talking about some of the best NFL coaches to ever go up and down the sideline, he is underrated. And I'm not going to go and say it's because he's a black man and this, that, and the other, but he's just underappreciated. He's underrated. This guy has dealt with all kinds of adversity, known and unknown, but he finds a way to get these guys to regroup. To me, if we had got to the playoffs last year, and I say we like I'm out there tackling somebody, but if we'd have got to the playoffs last year, it would have been a notch from a miracle. But to go 8-8 without Big Ben, with a third string quarterback, and offensive wide receiving core that's still trying to get their feet wet. Man, that doesn't happen by accident, brother.
No, I give my kudos to Coach Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they will be judged, of course. See, they can have a winning season and they're well on their way, but you know what they're going to be judged on.
Oh, I know that.
Can they get past Kansas City?
Well, first, no, hold on. Let me take my bites one at a time. First, it was, can we get past the Patriots? Bring the Patriots on right now.
Oh, yeah, you would want them now. Yeah. Boy, what a fall from grace, huh?
Man, like a crash and burn like I've never seen.
Yeah, I don't feel sorry for them.
Oh, neither do I. You'll never hear me say, oh, poor Patriots.
It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the NFL regular season goes. And we shall see. But,
no doubt.
Kudos and hats off so far to Pittsburgh Steelers.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
One of the top teams in the NFL.
Say it one more time, Brother Carlos.
No, I said now. Wait a minute. I'm pushing. 10:21 here. Central Standard Time on the
you mean,
Carlos
boy.
Brown
you mean,
show,
man. You mean.
Visiting. Well, I am who I am.
You're ornery.
I would. That might be a better term. Opinionated, outspoken, original.
You the OG? You the OG?
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, how about the OMC? The original MC.
Yeah.
How about the OSH? The original show host.
Well, to be honest with you, there has been a good bit of media hosts. I think of one, Greg Rochelle, who I kind of was brought in under his wing, which a long time ago. They're outstanding hosts now in the present day. So if I can just have my little spot, my little place in the top 200, I'll be happy. Wait a minute, are there 200 African American?
You know what? I don't think
so. That's a good question.
I mean, well, you know what? I would have to say yes. I'm going to have to say yes because there are many guys who have yet to be heard, and I won't say discovered because one thing about this business, if a person happens to get a breakthrough moment, people think they're new, but they've been on their grind for a long time, and they've been content with, their little piece of the pie, if you would, and their little area of expertise or work, and they're not trying to be big. See, there's a difference when people want to be big and you become big. You get what I'm saying? You're not trying to be a faker and a shaker. You work with what you have. You master what you do. You love what you're doing, and you're simplifying what you're doing. And when you stay consistent on it, you begin to elevate your brand, and you'll be amazed at people that are listening. They'll never let you know that they're listening, but they troll you. And when you go to set up interviews and you introduce yourself, oh yeah, I know you. I listen to your show. I'm like, oh wow, okay. So I think if you're content within your own skin, big is only in your mind.
Well, kudos to all who are into
but I think 200, maybe 205.
Radio.
205.
Yeah. Host, played, people who call the games.
Mm-hmm. Play-by-play announcers, analysts.
Yeah, so
sideline reporters. Yeah, it's over 200 easily.
Yeah, I just give them all the props.
And see, you talking about you want to be in the top 200, man. I'm trying to get in the top 500.
Well, maybe I should say the top 2,000. But speaking of thousands, Elizabeth Donald says Grambling men will be in the running at the top. Basketball.
Okay.
Appreciate that comment, Donald. And you know what, Donald It's a Grambling.
Yeah, and you know what? And to his credit, Dante,
and they're not getting a lot of love.
Well, I was going to say Dante Jackson has done a real good job at Grambling. Now, he came in under somewhat scrutiny under Paul Bryant when he had his short stint at Grambling. But Jackson, as a coach, very sound, fundamental, strong coaching philosophy, done a great job. But now he is actually putting his signature, if you would, on this Grambling basketball team.
Well, now is the time to compete, and if not get a championship, in this conference, second place is outstanding. Some people I know personally like second almost as much as first place. But if they can,
wow, you had to go there. We was doing real good, man. We were doing so good.
Yeah, but what did I say that was?
Oh, you know what you said, rascal.
I said second place. Yeah,
no.
People really look at that as a great achievement, and it is, I guess.
Carry on, big brother. Carry on.
Have well, I just got what is this? Joe Biden's official as the president?
No, you playing
got
right?
A text message.
Who you get that text message from?
Well, I don't reveal my source, but
okay. Now you just brought that up. Regardless of who you voted for, I compared this to a football game. Okay, lead changes, the excitement, the tension, and now this joker is in overtime, but not the old school overtime where whoever scored first. Now I get to match you. And when you do this for entertainment purposes, this has been one heck of a race to watch.
Well, on social media, I'll just simply put it this way. I don't know if I can put it towards a game or something. But, one saying would be you have to play a complete game, not just a half a game. Mm-hmm. And somebody's about to lose their job.
No doubt.
And I could put that to music, but
go drum up. You're fired.
Well, you probably could use that one as well. But
why does Ray Charles come to mind? Hit the road, Jack.
Well, I could think of the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
But if I had a political show, I could talk about how other southern states could look at the possibility of organizing and pulling off what the state of Georgia did. But anyway, let me stop right there. We'll get a quick timeout in. I went over the women's predicted order finish, and we still have time to go into the men's side. You can leave a comment via email at the Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com. I have Facebook page Messenger is open, the Carlos Brown Show, if you care to send a message that way. Coming up in a matter of minutes will be Jim Kleinpeter, contributing writer for The Advocate in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Talk a little Southern University football. Of course, spring football is still planning on it. They're still planning on it happening. Hopefully, this COVID-19 cases will slow down somewhat, but that's all over the map. But we shall see how that goes, and then we'll try to get into some more football from different institutions here in the conference, as far as either from the head coach or maybe the beat writer. We'll kind of do that as well. So, with that being said, time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the Swac Alumni Association. The Swac Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at Swac universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the Swac Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to Swac Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is SWAC@yahoo.com.
Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union has 13 different locations to better serve you. Locations in Rosenberg, Missouri City, Katy, College Station, Bryan, Brenham, and Waller, Texas. For more information, you can contact them on their toll-free number, 855-391-2149. Or you can send an email to information@bvscu.org.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. You hear Southern University's fight song, and hopefully things will start getting back to some sense of normalcy. Hopefully, real soon. Going to visit now with contributing writer Jim Kleinpeter, covers Southern University sports. Jim, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Carlos.
You doing all right?
I'm having a good morning. Yes, sir.
I understand. Look, it's been a long time since we've talked with you here on the show, so I like to see how people are doing, how you're doing, how you're coping with the pandemic and all of that, but it's good to hear your voice again. So that means you're doing well.
Yes, sir. I'm wearing my mask everywhere. I don't go out that much. Cover a prep game every now and then, and do a little work for the census, and worked as an election commissioner. So I'm out and about a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you said one thing that was important, wear your mask up. So that is very important. And speaking of important and masking up, let's see, October 17th, you produced a article, Southern Waiting on Spring Football, resumes off-season work, resumes off-season works. You put a plan in place. Coach Odums and that football program, they've had to make adjustments as well as everybody as far as with the COVID-19. But Jim, he seems to believe that the plan that they put in place, following protocol, that he feels that the program is in a good spot right now during this COVID-19. Is that the case?
Well, nobody knows. He can say that, but nobody knows what's going to happen 4 months from now when they actually try to start the season. The biggest problem with COVID is that in the winter months, it's expected to get worse because people are going to be indoors. Now, we don't have much of a winter here in Louisiana. So maybe that'll bail Southern out a little bit. But, it's just 4 months. Right now, we're in the middle of a surge. It's nationwide is starting the surge. And the problem is Southern can take all the precautions and be perfect in their protocol, and they don't have control over the other schools or what happens elsewhere. And you've seen it already in the Big Ten. Wisconsin wins a big game right at the start of the season, and then they hadn't played in 2 weeks. So I don't know. You can be hopeful and you can do everything right for right now, but you're at the mercy of forces that we're just not aware of yet.
And that's the thing. We discuss it with our colleagues, with the audience. We've talked about the cases spiking again, and the conference as a whole, they've left themselves some room, some flexibility as far as if they see the cases are spiking and going in the wrong direction, then we simply know there will not be any sports across the board within the conference. And as most people have stated, Jim, that's a very good possibility that can happen. But it still was, good, to be honest with you, to read your article and to see that, in spite of all that, Southern University is trying to, put together the situation where their football program can be, ready when the spring season starts. And with that being said, Jim, this roster and what Southern has coming back, you talk about 12 or 22 starters on offense. I guess the biggest question that I get is Skelton. And I know it's kind of hard to see what's going on, but it has to start with him offensively. Would you agree or disagree?
No, absolutely. If he could have played better last year, they could have beaten Alcorn twice. He had bad games against Alcorn. He is unsure of himself throwing the ball. And he's the best runner they have. He's the best offensive threat they have. But the thing he's not doing is he's not making the rest of the team better. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's dangerous, but his passing just doesn't look confident to me. And this is just based on my memory of last year. He needs to grow a little bit there, and I'm not saying he can't do it. A new offensive coordinator maybe can bring it out of him. But we've all seen his arm. We know he's got the arm. It's taming it, taming that the power of it and being poised in the pocket. And so I just think there's just a few little things that he has to clean up, and he could be a very, very, very good quarterback and have a very, very good senior year.
Well, and defenses, they realize his strengths and his weaknesses, and you kind of saw that. The first year, he came on the scene, and it was just a tremendous effort, and it caught most teams in the conference by surprise. And then year two, defense is wised up, and basically what you heard was tremendous athlete, but let's see if he can beat us with his decision making and throwing the football. And in spite of some of those shortcomings, they were still able to make it back to the Swac championship again, albeit not successful. Is there a possibility that do you see someone on the staff can push Skelton, and will there be a competition at the quarterback position, or do you kind of, and I know it's speculation, or do you see Skelton is still going to be their first choice?
Yeah, I think so. I was asking Dawson Odums last year if there were any thoughts to moving him to running back, and he was pretty adamant. No, he's a quarterback. That's what he is, and I don't think that's a bad thing to say. That he's probably the best athlete on the team. He's probably the most dangerous offensive weapon they had, and to put him at running back would be it would be taking something away from him. And I don't know that he has time to adapt to that now. I think he's a quarterback, and you pretty much got to leave him there now. But we'll see. Chinnis Berry was offensive coordinator, and maybe he needs a different offensive coordinator. Ladarius is the ideal option quarterback, and Southern runs the option with him, and it's one of their best plays. But Alcorn defends the option. They shot their ends just about almost every play, and it. I don't know if you remember the play where the Alcorn defensive end intercepted a pitch out. Well, that just tells you. I mean, he got in the backfield so fast, and so they schemed for Ladarius in the option, and that's why they were able to shake him up a little bit. And then when you shake him up early in the game, he's not as sure of himself later on. So they got to find a happy medium. They run the spread, and Southern does a lot of things well on offense. They had a good offensive line last year. They should have a good one this year, even though they're replacing 3 starters. They've got a good running game. Southern runs the ball better than anybody in the conference. So build off of that and use the running game to support your passing game and help make Ladarius a better thrower.
Well, do you think, Jim, will be using the word balance on offense? Would that be, in your humble opinion, would that be a goal that Southern offensively needs to achieve? Ran the ball very well, but passing, they were up just about dead last or second to last.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you've got to, and that's, you saw how many times Ladarius had open receivers and he just missed them. There were times when he had an open receiver short for a first down and he throws the ball deep, just because, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have his eyes. He's just trying to get rid of the ball. That's what I'm talking about, growing into the job and being more confident and patient and poised. You can stop a running game, but if you have balance, it's really hard because you can't and you got to adjust to what the defense is doing. But if you're not worried about the quarterback throwing the ball, that's a big advantage for a defense.
Yeah, and I would say this in our conversation, Jim, against the better teams, they're not going to allow you to do what you do best, and that's running the football. Then you have to be able to pass it efficiently. And then we'll go back to that word balance on offense. But, one of the other important persons in this program will be a guy that people have heard about, but that's first-year assistant offensive coordinator Zach Grossi, who replaces Chinnis Berry. And in your article, Odums basically talks about not changing too much, but, will there be pressure on Coach Grossi coming in as his first year with no spring, of course, and then, trying to get ready to get this offense balanced?
Well, I don't think having no spring is if they're going to play football in the spring, not having a spring is not a disadvantage anymore. They've got a lot of time. They're working on right now just conditioning and weight training, and sometime in December they're going to put the pads on and they'll start doing some things, and he'll start trying some of his concepts with the offense and getting Ladarius used to that. Then they got 2 more months at the beginning of 2021 to get ready. So they're going to have plenty of time to adapt to him. And I think maybe what he will bring, he's got NFL experience. So maybe there's some NFL concepts that can help Southern make better use of the passing game or make better use of Ladarius's skills. That's what I would be looking for. So they've got plenty of time to do all this. They're going to have 2 months, a 2-month practice, lots of time in the meeting room, looking at film, learning how to do stuff. And so we'll see. They've got time. Everybody's working on the same schedule. So I don't think anybody has, COVID is not giving anybody an advantage.
Well, we understand that. I'm visiting with contributing writer Jim Kleinpeter of The Advocate, discussing Southern University football. So you got new assistant coaches, Zach Grossley being one who replaces Chennis Berry. In the article, Odom says he expects few changes in the offense despite Berry being the coordinator for the past 4 seasons. As you stated, there'll still be a spread on offense. Devon Ben and Jared Sims at running back. And then, of course, you got to replace Hunter Register and 3 offensive linemen. But with that being said, the cupboard is not bare offensively at Southern University, Jim.
No, not at all. I don't see them having too much trouble replacing their offensive linemen. They got guys that played. They subbed out their offensive linemen, so they've got guys that have real game experience, and they have great depth at running back. I mean, between Sims, I wouldn't be completely surprised if he beat out Ben because he's a little more versatile. He's kind of more of a power runner, and but he's going to make Ben better just by reducing the number of snaps Ben has to play. Ben can be fresher, and so having depth there is going to be huge because running backs take a beating, probably more than any other position. The wide receivers, Southern used a lot of guys last year. They had some injuries there, but they got guys that can play. They got guys that they really never, kind of unleashed. Tim Bedford is really probably going to step up and probably be their go-to guy. He's a big guy. If he, can add a little bit of weight, he could be like Hunter Register. And they got Bedford and some other guys, Jalen Richardson, another big receiver. So yeah, the talent is there. I mean, they're going to be good offensive. I think the biggest person to replace is on defense. At linebacker, you've got Calvin Lunkins is gone, and man, he's a big hole to fill. I asked Dawson Odums if he was going to move Caleb Carter to the middle, and he said no because Caleb's really good on the weak side. That's the linebacker that's usually your playmaker, and so
athletic linebacker they have tremendous.
Yeah, he's faster than Lunkins, so you want him playing the will. So I don't know who they're gonna put in the middle and how that's going to work. But he's got a bunch of guys in the secondary, and to me, a team that has a lot of experienced secondary people, a lot of good man-to-man cover guys. You need You need like 5 or 6 cornerbacks. That's like the minimum, because you're defending 4 receivers most of the time. So I like Southern's chances on offensive and defense. They got people back and experience back. So.
Yeah,
I'd put them down as the West favorite.
Well, yeah, and that's nothing new, Jim. So people from the outside may be looking in. If they were to ask you offensively, most approval will have to be the passing game, and then on defense, you just talked about a lot of players in the secondary. Of course, they got transfers in and some JUCO players stopping the pass. And, it's interesting that the last couple of years you always talked about run defense, but it's pass defense. Southern was almost dead last in that, and then in passing. Those two situations, I think, have to improve for them to have a chance to complete a goal, and that is to get a championship. And Jim, to you, is there pressure for Southern to finally kick past being run up and getting the championship, whether it's in the spring or the following semester in the fall of 2021?
No, yeah, I think there is. I think you got to give. I don't think if COVID is making this year an asterisk year. So whatever Southern does, you don't fire Dawson Odums, because they don't win the title this year. There's too many variables, and it's not fair. But yeah, there's always pressure at Southern. Southern has high expectations, and Dawson Odums knows that. I don't think there's any mystery there. But if he doesn't win it, there'll be pressure again waiting for him in the fall of 2021. If that's, I guess that's how they're going to do it. They're just going to play a spring and a fall the same year and just not have spring practice. So, but he's aware. He's been here long enough to know. He's felt the pressure. And I'm sure he feels it every day. And I see coaches like this. They understand, and they don't let it bother them too much. They know it goes with the job.
Visiting with Jim Kleinpeter, contributing writer for The Advocate. Jim, we actually have a listener that has a question. He says, ask Jim who he thinks is the Swac West team to beat.
Well, that's really hard. I'd say Southern right off the bat, and then Grambling had young players. Grambling was young last year. They're going to have people back, and I think it comes down to the Bayou Classic again. And I've seen the other teams. It was my first full year covering Southern, and I got a chance to look at some of the other teams. I just think the Southern program is ahead of programs like Texas Southern, Prairie View. They're ahead. I can tell they're better organized. I think they're better coached. Texas Southern has some really good offensive talent coming back. But I think overall, as far as overall programs, Southern and Southern and Grambling are always going to be at the top. I mean, their expectations are always high. So, that's it. That's until you show me different. And Southern's got good talent. They had great depth last year, and those guys are going to step up and play. And they do a good job of recruiting. They do a good job of getting transfers that come in and they can make an impact. So, there you go.
I appreciate the answer to his question. And it's going to be interesting to see as we get past this. FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, you'll get a chance to look at those two football programs coming into the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And, of course, Alcorn comes to the West. So when you look at it, Jim, and listening to you, I think that's why some Southern fans, not that I can speak for them, they are really, everything seems to be in place. And you're right there, and you've been a runner-up, and you got to kick that door in. And I think that's where the pressure lies with Southern University. Not that they will be the only program with pressure on them, but they'll be one of the ones that people will be watching to see if they're able to get over. And let's ask you this: what do you think the situation with Alcorn? Have you ever covered teams in the past where a team has just had that much, hadn't been successful against a team? Like, what is it, 1-10, 1-11 against Alcorn State? I know you hadn't covered every individual game, but have you ever seen anything like that before in your life?
Yeah, here's the thing. Sometimes that's overrated because when you talk about teams year after year, you're talking about the same name. You know, Southern is Southern, but it's not the same players. It's not the same team. Every team is different. And the coaches will tell you this because fans kind of get caught up in that thing that it's Southern again and they're losing again. But it's a different team every year. It's a different team chemistry, a different team concept, and coaches try to make fans understand this. So, you know, it maybe some of the players press. I don't know, but sometimes it's just the matchup is not right. You know, the coaching matchup, maybe the playing matchup. Alcorn seems to have great players. You know, I've seen them play Southern 4 times now, and it's like they just reload. So they've got a pipeline, maybe better than Southern's, or you know, and so I'm not saying Southern's is bad, but they seem to come up with players, and I don't know. It's hard to explain that. LSU has had the same thing going with Alabama for many years. You know, and of course we're talking about one of the premier programs in all of college football in Alabama, but LSU was always right there with them and just never could get over the hump and had all those seasons where a loss to Alabama just spoiled it. You know? So it happens that it's very hard to quantify or to find one reason or one explanation. Sometimes it's just, you know, it's just the circumstances. There are numerous variables that create these things, and you know, when you break through, you break through.
Yeah, well, Jim, I would love it to be the opposite way. The fans call me. Speaking of where it's a 5 or 6 game run where Southern turns the table, but it is very frustrating to say the least. And with Alcorn State being in the West going forward, you'll still see the nemesis now in the division with you. So,
well, I love this whole thing taking in Florida A&M and Bethune. Now that's going to make some expensive travel, but Southern and Alcorn should be in the same division because they're the 2 closest schools by proximity. I think it's not even a 2-hour drive. You know, it's
well, for selfish reasons, I wanted to see Alcorn in the West, and I predicted it, and it happened. And I'm sure they, you know, looked at multiple factors and made their decision. Southwestern Athletic Conference, but it's gonna be a go. Yeah, okay, we lost Jim. Well, I was getting ready to wrap it up anyway with Jim Kleinpeter, but you know that's an interesting discussion. You know, you can kind of see the frustration. I mean, you listen to me, and I'm sure you probably say, "Oh no, there he goes again." But you can see the frustration I have with the situation. And his point was that every year there's a difference, but it's the same results the last 5, 6 years. Coach Odums has been there. His winning percentages is pretty good. But I personally look at Grambling State and Alcorn, how does Southern fare against those 2 programs? And now with the expansion coming in, then you have to include FAMU, but you don't know if you're going to be playing them FAMU every year. What if you do play FAMU every year if you're Southern University? That's going to be tough. Then, you know, you've got Jackson State on the other side. It was just an interesting conversation to hear his thoughts on that. And again, what do you think, folks? Does it make you even more frustrated when you're hearing that great program, great coach, great guy off the field, but you've fallen short. That's the bottom line. And if you think I'm wrong, you please are welcome to tell me that I'm wrong. Dr. Prince can't tell me I'm wrong, but you can. You know. Let's see. Let's pull up quickly for the listeners. Well, a pleasant good morning to you, sir. Thank you. Good morning. This is Edwin. Happy anniversary, Dr. Prince. He also is a Steelers fan. Oh, go Steelers. Tomlin is close to being number 2 all-time winningest Steelers coach soon, and maybe another year all-time winningest Steelers coach. Appreciate those comments. Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what? I may have to pull for them if my Saints don't do well.
Hey, we got room on the wagon, baby. We got plenty of room.
Toughness. Pittsburgh, Steel, America.
Hey,
Alcorn,
we won't even go there. We won't even go there.
But here's what he has to say about Alcorn. Alcorn's trenches are bigger and stronger, and their position coaches are 4 more seasons. The difference when it is tight as it has been. So basically, Edwin is saying the trenches, they're bigger, and the O-line, D-line, and the position coaches are 4 more seasons.
You know, it's ironic that Edwin would say that. I've been speaking with quite a few football coaches, of course, off the record, right? And do you know what they say the most vital thing that any program needs to have success, regardless of their budget? A strength and conditioning coach and a nutritionist. They said that would give them, scholarships, of course, are king, salaries are king. But if you got a great strength and conditioner coach and a nutritionist, you can do a lot with a little. And I found that very fascinating.
Well, I know some schools, one in particular, is looking for strength and conditioning coach as well. But, you know, there are a lot of turtle things going on throughout this conference.
And I might add,
strength and conditioning is great.
Right, but not just, see, the problem that we have a one-size-fits-all. That strength and conditioning coach goes for all sport, okay? But there are different muscles of concentration for basketball, baseball, football, soccer, track and field even, that are different. Mm-hmm. So if and I know it's wishful thinking, but we're talking about it, right? So if you had a chance to spend, and they say the neighborhood of a good strength and conditioning coach is going to range between $50,000 and $75,000 a year. So if you got a budget and you got to get, let's say, $60,000, which could equate to anywhere between 2.5 to 3 scholarships. Do you go get those 3 scholarship players, or do you invest that in a strength and conditioning coach to help build what you have?
I think you have to have an investment in strength and conditioning. They're very important.
So you would do that rather than get the scholarships?
That's an investment that will bring plenty of production in the big game. I would. I mean, you look at Alcorn State and the strength and conditioning, but they also have, to me, the right fit as far as coaching, and they're getting it done. And they don't have a huge budget. They don't have a huge enrollment. Now, I throw shots at them for being better in other sports, but in football, they've gotten it done. And speaking of football, thanks a lot, Rube. He says, I personally believe Southern is about to kick the door in on Alcorn.
All right, Bum Phillips.
The recent loss reminded me of our last loss to Grambling before kicking the door in. I also believe in the past 2 years, we've out-recruited Alcorn in the trenches. And that's about the show. That will make me smile. Show me. Show me. I'll be glad. Then I can be quiet. I can shut up. About, hey, getting to the championship and then finally getting past and kicking that door in. I'll be quiet for a while.
Okay, then. So let's say you get to the championship.
Here we go with these scenarios again.
No, I'm just asking, man. If you get to the championship of, even though there won't probably be a MEAC SWAC Celebration Bowl, that's still to be determined. Let's say you get to the Celebration Bowl and you lose. Is that still considered a bad season?
No. Didn't they? That would mean they won the SWAC championship, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. That would suffice.
But you still. So then, if I'm hearing you correctly, you would be pleased with second place.
In this instance, but the thing is, when you continue to get second place, human nature will dictate to you that you get tired of it.
But wouldn't you still be remembered?
And you want to take? Do you? Oh no, I better not use that example. Oh no,
go ahead.
No, I better not use that as an example. I'll think of somewhere else.
Well, why are you thinking of something else?
I put it this way. SWAC championship. We give them kudos. They got there 2 years in a row. They lost. They lost to Alcorn in a championship in Houston. They lost that. You give them credit for getting there. So is that where you will end it? And you satisfied with that? Because I know people are going to come back, well, I'd rather get there and lose than not get there at all. Really? You can only use that you can only use
But
that
that's what
so
you just used for the Celebration Bowl.
Well, wait a minute. Celebration Bowl, look, it's better to get there. Now, if you get there and lose 2 or 3 years in a row, well, if that's the case, how do you think Alcorn feels?
We're not talking about Alcorn. We're talking about something.
No. Alcorn got to the Celebration Bowl, and they did not win it.
Right. They did not win
several times. So you can tell that same scenario to Alcorn fans.
But this scenario is for Southern
Alcorn
right
fans, now. How do you feel about losing in the Celebration Bowl?
I am talking to Carlos Brown, the franchise, the OG show host. If second place is not acceptable, in your case, in your own words, I'm tired of coming in second place. Maybe you're happy with second place, but I'm not.
Second place in the Southwestern Athletic Conference championship game. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, to get to the Celebration Bowl and get to Atlanta when it starts back and they lose, you'd be disappointed for the loss, but at least you got past one hurdle. My goodness. Now, if you get back the next year and the next year and you lose, then me and the Alcorn State fans are going to get pissed off. We'll be drinking ourselves, drinking ourselves into a coma, saying, "Wow, we get that." So see, you want to see the progression, and I know it's hard to do it. And I'm not saying winning it every year.
Okay, did you hear what your last guest just said? He said he believes that the 1-10 record is overrated, right? And you know why he said that?
Well, that's his opinion.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, just hear me out. Just hear me out. He said because they're different teams each year. Okay. It's not the same team. So therefore,
what a brilliant that is a brilliant statement. See. And I understand where this is going, but again, I'll turn this around. If your beloved Prairie View was 1-10 against Texas Southern, you would know how it feels.
My beloved Prairie View was 0-88 against everybody.
Well, see, you always bring that up, but
because it's a reality. It's my reality.
That's part of history.
Yes,
but But now, if they were that way, if Alcorn fans
hold on,
10 against Jackson State fans,
man, we lost to everybody.
In games,
everybody.
I understand that, but that was then. Would that be acceptable now? No, I don't think it would.
You think it was acceptable then?
No. you're a much better program than back then.
We're a much better program
right now.
Okay, we're a much better program in theory. In theory.
Well,
we haven't.
That's your opinion.
We have not. No, that's a fact. We've won one football championship since 1964 in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
What else have we done?
Well, if they got second place 3 or 4 years in a row, you would be happy, right?
I didn't. I would be saying at least we're headed in the right direction, knowing the facts of what I've had.
Okay.
That's based on fact, not opinion.
Okay. Fact is, I'm not happy even going to a championship game 2 years in a row. And
let me ask you this. Let me add this.
That's an effect. My opinion is it would be more self-serving if you can come up with a championship in the next few years. That's just my opinion. But the fact is, they've been running up the last 2 years, correct?
Yes, and let me add a couple of more facts since we on the facts versus opinion.
My case on that.
I'm outspending 8 out of 10 of my opponents, give or take. It might be all 10 of them, but depending on who budget you believe and look at. I'm outspending you. I got better facilities than you, and I still can't get over the hump.
And you're referring to
Prairie View.
Okay, well, that just seems like y'all got to go into something deep and have a powwow and find out. You know, if you can't compare Prairie View against Southern University because there's a difference there. You know,
but the expectations are the same.
I go back to Alcorn in football.
But are not the expectations the same?
Expectations, I think, are where they should.
Do you not play to win?
Yeah. So
do you not at the beginning of every season? At the beginning of every season, part of the hype, part of the nostalgia is that everybody starts at ground zero. This could be the year. Could this be the year for whomever you're rooting for to get over that hump? Then the reality sets in, and like, dag nabbit, another year down the drain.
But the bottom line is, we can have these different theories. We can give the different scenarios as I close to that. That'll get to the gas. But if you don't succeed, whose fault is that?
Everybody's.
Everybody. Okay.
Everybody's.
Everybody's gonna get fired. Okay.
Well, no. There's gonna always be a scapegoat, but everybody. You did look once again.
I'm talking about a scapegoat.
Well,
I'm talking about who's the head. If Prairie View doesn't get things done, Dooley will be let go.
And to Dooley's credit, and I think a lot of people overlook this. This is this man's 4th athletic director in 3 years. How are you going to get anything grounded and rooted for program growth with that type of revolving door?
I think Prairie View, they're going to have to deal with some internal issues.
As a matter of fact, the guy who just hired the AD, Dr. Reed, Dr. Tim Sams, just left Prairie View and hadn't even been there a year. But you didn't brought in an athletic director. Now, this athletic director does not have the quote-unquote guidance and structure that he would need to help get over some difficult times that'll be coming down the road with COVID and all. Then you got a coach who doesn't have the AD support because the AD support is still learning somewhat on the job. So it's a big old stanky, janky mess.
Well, expectations, I guess, are a little bit different in certain places. But in my opinion, you can only get second place so many times. And then, buddy, you need to step it up.
But then it's okay to get second place at the celebration.
A listener says everyone's expectations are the same, but everyone's accountability is different.
Right. Their realities are different. Their perceptions and realities are different. That's just like expecting to win the lotto and I don't even buy one ticket. How is that even possible?
Well, my goodness, I don't know who would think that. You did not even buy. You can buy one. You could buy 1,000. The one person that buys one ticket wins it.
I understand
His odds are probably worse, but he got it done.
Man, we'll be talking about this till the cows come home. We got to get Coach. I'm ready to hear Coach.
I feel the way I feel, and that's just me. Oh, okay. Let's say I agree. I agree with Dr. Prince that Prairie View A&M is underachieving in Swac football. They have one of the biggest budgets, rich recruiting in Texas area, and updated facilities. And they have not gotten it done. Well, maybe they'll get it done this year or in the fall. They might, but if they get second place, that'll be a great improvement, right? We'll take a time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show. Coach Van Pettaway comes up next here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and many, many more. And we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Do you know what's up with Ryan? He's been acting weird and he's not hanging out anymore.
He borrowed money from me and still hasn't paid it back.
His girlfriend broke up with him a couple weeks ago. Said he was more into his sports app than her.
He may be addicted to fantasy sports. We need to get him some help.
Sports betting and fantasy sports can have serious consequences. Know somebody with a gambling problem? Get free and confidential help. Call 1-877-MY-LIMIT. That's 1-877-695-4648. Or go online to opgr.org.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Coach Van Pettaway, Carlos Brown Show's basketball analyst, joins me next. Coach, good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well.
Oh, it's an happy day. Happy day.
Now, is that because you believe in what CNN is saying? Is that why you happy?
That's one of the reasons.
Okay, yeah.
And I actually, someone texted me the information, but sometimes we want to overstay our welcome, but there's ways of getting you out of there.
Right, but at this point, though, we still need to wait. I think we need to wait until all the commotion and stuff is over with before it's only a matter of time, Coach. But you're right.
You gotta be patient.
Yep.
Even if you're excited, patience is the word.
Right.
And it's only a matter of time. So with that being said, speaking of a matter of time, the Swac basketball predictions are out, and that's on paper. Of course, we know it'll be won on the court. And all things being in the perfect world, it would be just a better situation, but it is what it is. On the women's side, it basically went as expected, in my opinion. What about yours?
Well, no, I had all four people. I just didn't have in the right order. Dave said Jack would win. I felt like Texas Southern, but I also had Southern and A&M in the top 4, and I think that's what the coaches and whoever else was voting, that's how they came up with it. So as long as you're in the top 4, that means that they're giving your program respectability, and during the course of the year, anything can happen. So they're saying that in their opinions, they believe that these 4 teams are the ones who have a chance of winning this championship.
Jackson State, number 1, Texas Southern, number 2, 3, Southern, 4, Alabama A&M, 5, Prairie View A&M, 6, Alabama State, 7, Grambling State, 8, Pine Bluff, 9, Alcorn State, 10, Mississippi Valley State. Now, 1 through 4, 1 through 5 on the women's side. Now, we talked a couple of weeks ago, and you gave your prediction. You also gave a team that you say watch out for, because at the end of the day, they could be in the stakes in the running for that first place, and that's Alabama A&M. A little bit more about them. What have you seen about Alabama A&M, maybe internally, that others outside have not seen? Why you came up with that your prediction on Alabama A&M?
Well, they got 3 players that even the coaches have voted on the preseason All-Swac team, and if you got 3 all-conference performers on the same team, it's only 5 people on the floor. So if you can win 3 positions during the course of a game, that leads to a lot of success. Now, I had the pleasure of watching Miss Deanna Lewis. She can play. That young lady can play. She's a forward. She's a junior. She can actually get it done. And then you got Nigeria Jones and then Deshauna Hopper. So now you got a post player. You got 2 guards that can fill it up, create their own shot. And the thing that I like the most about what I've seen about A&M's women team, they play defense. They will get after your butt on the defensive end of the floor. So anytime you play good defense and you can get some easy baskets in transition, that puts you ahead of the game. So that's why I say they need to watch A&M, because they got some experience now. Those kids were young the previous 2 years that coach has been there, but now that they've got some experience to go along with some size, now they're not as big as some of the other teams. I looked at how listened to them talk about Texas Southern, Prairie View, and of course Jackson State, how long and big they are. But A&M can match up with them. They might not be as deep, so that's why I said to watch out for them.
In your opinion, Alabama and what is the one thing that they had missing maybe from last year that they need this year to elevate them where they could perhaps finish even higher?
They needed more depth at the guard position, and I think she did that in the recruiting process. And so I think with the new additions and the fact that those other players have experience now, these kids that have 2 years of playing together, just going into their 3rd year being together, I think that experience factor will help them. So that's why I picked them as a dark horse. Now, I still had them in 4th place, but I still said, look out for them.
And then some of our listeners, they quite honestly said, no, Texas Southern is a team that they feel on the women's side that can pull it off. And many of their comments.
But that was my pick.
Because of Coach Cooper.
Right. That was remember now, I picked Texas Southern over Jackson in my preseason predictions now.
Yeah, you did. I guess I should say, following the show, there was some conversation and they had some listeners agreed.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
And, of course, I just thought, Jackson State, some transfers and how they recruited, the job that they did. And then to me, whether it's fair or not, usually the defending champions, they're thought of highly to be put, if not back at the top, close to the top. And when we get to the men's section, we'll see.
Right. I think on that defending champion, depending on how many seniors they had on the team, they should either come back as the preseason favorite or no lower than second or third. That's my opinion. That's how I look at it. But you can win a championship, but if you had a bunch of seniors, how are you going to repeat if they got all the minutes?
Yeah. Well, that leads me now on the men's side, and quite honestly, I was surprised. I'm going to be brutally honest. Texas Southern picked to win it. Most of the time, we were discussing and talking and debating and arguing on the show, off the show about Prairie View and Southern.
Right.
And again, this is for interest, for discussion. We understand, and it's going to be one on the court. But boy, Texas Southern came in in the eyes of many who make these decisions, and they were picked to win it. Coach, give us the top four.
Well, they picked Texas Southern, Southern Prairie View, and Jackson State on the men's side. Now, I picked Southern. I picked Southern in the beginning until I found out it was preseason, games being played. So I went back with Prairie View, Southern, TSU, and Grambling. So I had Texas Southern, in my top four. But now I'm gonna tell you the one thing that they got going that I was not aware of. I was not aware that they had 5 kids sitting out who were able to practice and be a part of that program all year. That is probably what the other coaches in the league knew that we in the media didn't know. And that's probably why they voted Texas Southern ahead of PV and Southern. But I'm going to tell you this. To me, all they did was they gave Prairie View some ammunition. Because, see, what you've done, you've disrespected those kids that are coming back who are the defending champs. So now that's bulletin board material. And then let's add a little bit more to it. You picked their rival to win the championship. So, right. So see, you laying it on. And so the Prairie View kids should be licking their chops as soon as this thing came out. And they'll say, well, okay, it still has to be decided between the lines. We shall see.
And Southern second place again, huh? On the men's side. If you ever have talked, and Coach Woods personally.
Yeah, and I listened at his media day.
Yeah, he's not shy. He's not bashful. He's confident.
Right.
Pretty much, and I think you gave me the stat last year that on the men's side, they did not have one player that averaged in double figures, correct?
Right.
And they've added some pieces, some transfer for some grad student transfer. Then you have, man, worry about Coach Woods, boy. He gets out of that box on the court. I'm telling you, Coach Smith, the way I've seen him, I almost thought he was a player several times.
I know, but you know what? That's the passion that he coaches with. He loves what he's doing.
Yeah, he's tough. I told him, I said, Coach, I don't want to see him get a technical foul, in the heat of the moment in a game where the outcome is undecided and the referee decides to call a technical on him for the first time in 20 games. Excuse me. But you got motivation all across the board as far as the predicted order of finish. And so, do you have anything else to add on that? What was your team that you would say on the men's side that they could have a higher finish than predicted?
I think you got to always, to me now. I like Grambling. Coach Dante does a very good job, schematic wise. He's a motivator. He's been in there. All of these are his recruits now. And I just think that you got to keep an eye on Grambling because he's got experience. He's got size. Now, yeah, he lost Ivory Smith from last year, but I think I think you got to keep your eye on Grambling. And then I'm gonna tell you who's laying in the cut now: Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with that defense and the things that they do on the floor, not many people in the league play that matchup zone like they do, and it'll disrupt your offense. So if he gets some players in, last year he had a lot of people hurt, so he's expecting a lot of those kids back this year, and so that means that they would have the experience factor on their side. So you got to keep your eye on them too. It's just going to be a great year in the Swac for basketball, and I can't wait for it to start. And then the thing that I'm looking at that I think would be a plus for us, if you see a great player this year and he's listed as a senior, you can still see him again next year because they've all been granted that year of eligibility.
Yeah, and
so I think that's a good thing. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be doing more virtual games this year. I won't do as many in person because of, the virus, but I plan to support them. I'll be looking out there. Now, if I could, I want to bring up one thing that has gone on for a whole month. We have not talked about it. Okay. Dr. Prince, now you know that over the couple of years that I've been on here, we've always talked about, or someone has always talked about, how the influence of Louisiana has been on this conference.
Right.
Well, A&M's been bit by the Louisiana bug. They hired Elliott Jones, who's a former player and coach at Southern University, as our new baseball coach.
Yes, sir.
So now Elliott is in the fold on the hill, and we just not have talked about that. And I think I left it alone because I found out that he was from Southern, and he's got that Louisiana blood in it. And the only thing that I hope that he can do is he can whip up a good pot of gumbo. If he can do that, he got me in his corner.
Well, Coach, I think if you give him some of that catfish you got in that freezer, I think y'all can come to a good negotiation piece. And what I'm going to do, Coach, because I actually had an exclusive interview with Elliott on the network, and I'm going to send it over to you so you can check it out, man. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's going to be exciting to see what he's going to be able to do over there at Bulldog Nation.
Good, because I have not had, because of the virus, I have not met the young man yet, but I look forward to doing it. And I'm happy that he's accepted the role of writing our baseball program.
And with the right person in charge and the right backing, without administration.
Right.
He was coaching at Grambling State the last couple of years. Coached, played at Southern University. Coached under Roger Cador.
Mm-hmm.
The sky is the limit. And also, if you're talking about food, throw in a good pot of red beans and rice with some grilled sausage.
All right. So, Carlos, do you know him? You know Elliott?
I've met him, but if you ask him, does he know me? He'll probably say no, because with the baseball program and at Southern University, I wasn't that close to the program as I should have been, but of course I knew Coach Cador, but I think he'll have an opportunity to do an outstanding job. It's going to be tough with the expansion over there, but hey, he comes from the baseball pedigree.
Right, he's got the pedigree. Yep.
He'll work his tail off, I'm sure. And a few years from now, we'll be discussing, wow, Alabama A&M, look at the progress that they've made.
Right. Well, I hope so.
Yeah. So, with that being said, Misha Williams, Jackson State Swac preseason player of the year. On the women's side, defensive player of the year, Justice Coleman, Grambling State, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Miss Rogan, Jackson State, Nia Mitchell, Texas Southern, Miss Lewis, Alabama A&M. That first name, I'm not sure about that. And of course, Misha Williams, Jackson State. But you can go to SWAC.org to get the preseason All-SWAC first team and second team coach. And then on the men's side, I know Jackson State had the preseason player of the year as well.
And also, then I think this is a good group of talent. I know that, for Texas Southern, they got Justin Hopkins, who's from Huntsville. So I know the things that he's done over his career, high school and in college. And then, of course, you got two people on the second team from Southern. And then, I mentioned Pine Bluff and people coming back. And they got Bell from Pine Bluff. He's also. So we got a good group of young men and women. The conference seems to be loaded from top to bottom. There's going to be a lot of parity, but I still think that the top 4 teams or the top 5 teams that are in those preseason polls, I think your champion is going to come from that group on both sides.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out with fans in attendance, if there will even be any fans allowed, or will it be a minimal amount of fans? Season's getting ready to start very shortly. NCAA basketball. Anything else you had, Coach, on the women's or men's side in basketball?
Well, no. I'm just looking forward to the season, and I hope all of the athletes and the coaches, they remain safe. They follow their protocols so that they can get through the season. And I want everybody to make it through the season healthy. I think that's our number one goal. We play the game, but we need to make sure that everybody's healthy. I had an opportunity to look at the guidelines that were sent out for the officials. That's going to be another challenge for some of our schools, protecting the officials and the different things that they're calling for in terms of making sure that they're safe, that the testing, the different tests and stuff that they have to take in order to even officiate the game. So I'm just hoping that we can pull this off because we really need it. I think sports helps make life a little better for everyone. It's a stress reliever for some people. Mm-hmm. So I'm just hoping that we're able to get things done.
Well, Coach, I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but some listeners wanted me to ask you this. Do you have an NBA team you follow?
Not a particular team. I like the Lakers over the years. I've liked the Lakers. But prior to that, I was a Miami Heat fan when they had the Big Three. I'm not as much into NBA basketball because I concentrate more on the collegiate level in terms of, and that goes for football too, because on the professional level for football, my allegiance goes to the Bears and Pittsburgh. Those are the two teams that I follow. So, but if I had to pick one, it would be the Lakers, and that goes back to the Magic Johnson days.
Yes. Good choice, Bears, huh? I know somebody else likes the Bears.
Oh. I heard the Steelers. I didn't hear the Bears. I heard Steelers.
Because of Star Wars, John was
Alabama A&M. Yes, sir.
Right. He was on the board when when they voted to hire me as the athletic director. So my allegiance has been with them for a while.
He's such a brilliant guy. Coach Pettaway is something else, man.
And you know why I picked at the Bears?
What?
There's proof in football. You can have a great defense, but you don't have an offense.
Yeah, you got to have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's our problem. That's our problem.
Yeah.
But you don't have that in Pittsburgh. Huh? Hey, look, you don't have that in Pittsburgh because you got a great defense and you got a great quarterback right now. He was out last year and everybody wanted to down our coach because of an 8-8 season. But he held them together, and now he's what? The only undefeated team in the league?
Talk good, Coach. Talk good.
In this case, based on what they did last year, and that was last year, and if they fall short and get second place, hey, thumbs up. Now, if 3 years from now we still talking about second place, thumbs up.
I think that was a shot at me, Coach. I think that was a shot at me, Coach.
You know what? I think something has happened. You got a phobia about that second place.
I don't like it.
Hold on, but coach, listen at this, coach. The last segment, right? I said, so if you make it to the Celebration Bowl and you lose, is that considered a successful season? He says yes, but isn't that still second place, coach?
Yes, it is second place.
Okay, I know.
Second place, coach. 1 year. Second place, the second year. Second place, the third. The fourth or fifth.
Well, see, now if you want to get technical, you've been first place in the West. You've been first place in the West.
If you're back up for 1 year in the Celebration Bowl, that's a good season because prior to that, you hadn't made it to the Celebration Bowl.
But to put yourself in position to get to the Celebration Bowl, you've been good.
You have won a championship.
Yeah, but at some point when you get there, you gotta go ahead and you at the door knocking. You just gotta kick that bad boy in.
But see, that's what I'm saying, Coach. He keeps knocking instead of just kicking it in. You got to go gangster sometimes, man. You knocking at the door. Can I come in? No, I'm coming in.
People know exactly what I'm talking about. Second place, yeah.
Hey, Carlos, because in the locker room, you get something like this in the locker room. Hey, fellas, we need to put our big boy pants on and get out here and let's win this. We got to go ahead and kick this doggone door down.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
But you know, if you're used to not getting second place, that seems like first place.
That's called an illusion.
Yeah.
and so I don't have an illusion. I've been crystal clear on how I feel. Crystal clear. And I just leave it at that.
There's still room for him, Coach. We're going to have to keep praying for him. We might have to start fasting.
Here's I'm like this. I believe in prayer, but I also believe in getting up and commence the whipping.
Yes, well, you know what? They say sometimes put away them hallelujahs and get some do-ya-luyahs.
Yeah. So that's the way you have to do it. But on that note, appreciate the time as always.
Sure. Thank you, guys, and stay safe. Everybody be blessed, and let's talk again.
We'll do it next week.
All right. Take care.
We'll do it next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. I'm going to take a quick time out. When I come back, Charles Edmond had an assignment, and we'll get a report on that assignment. He basically is going to tell us who is under pressure, football-wise, in the conference. That ought to be interesting. Very interesting. Coming up next, Charles Edmond. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Final guest of today's show, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I am wonderful. It's a wonderful day in America.
Charles, you sound like you got a little twinkle in the voice, a twinkle in the eye.
It's a twinkle. Yeah, it's a twinkle. It's excitement. It's a wonderful day in the United States of America.
Well, I understand. I understand it very well. Charles, you had an assignment, and if I'm not mistaken, it's about who will be under the most pressure as far as Swac football coaches. And we know spring 2021, but we're talking kind of beyond that. But I'll step back, and you have the floor now. But the question is, who is under the most pressure? And then I'll just add in my opinion every now and then.
Well, what you said on the tail end of it is really important because you've got actually 2 seasons in one calendar year. You have the spring of 21, and then you're going to have the fall of 21. So you got 2 seasons in a short period of time. So it's just a matter of how you want to look at it. I think immediately, if you look at a program or a coach that I think is probably looking at a lot of heat, I think, is down in Dr. Prince's neck of the woods, and that's Coach Dooley at Prairie View. He's done some good things. There's no question about that. He's won, and I think, first of all, when you talk to Prairie View fans, they're obviously disappointed that they struggled with Southern and Alcorn, but they beaten Texas Southern. And I think that helps somewhat. But there's some games that clearly that they probably should have won and let slip through their fingers over the years. Alcorn for one, Southern for another. Even though they've beaten Grambling last couple of years, still, I think the level of expectation was pretty high, and they haven't met that expectation. So I look at the overall picture of all the coaches, and I think the one coach that's probably, I think, under the most pressure because he came in with a lot of fanfare coming from Grambling, a successful program as an OC over there, is Coach Dooley. So I think number one is, for me, Dooley is probably under the most heat. Now, again, you got 2 seasons compacted in one calendar year. Do you put pressure on the spring of 21, or do you kind of back off a little bit with COVID-19 and put the heat clearly on the fall of 21? That's for Prairie View officials to determine. I'm sure Dr. Prince knows a little bit more than most because he's plugged into that situation. But for me, as a person on the other side of the fence, I would put Coach Dooley as number one on that list. Number 2 would be Dr. Ely at Alabama State. Even though he just got a new contract, my sources have been telling me that part of the reason why he got a new deal, he's in pretty good stead with the administration there at Alabama State. Although, if you talk to Bama State fans and you talk to Alabama A&M fans, it's about one thing: Magic City. And even though Bama State didn't win the Magic City, they did beat Grambling. And again, he has some pretty good representation within that administration over there. So by virtue of that, I think he got a 1-year deal. But the understanding is that at some point you're going to have to win the Magic City, and that's what it's all about. So even though you got a new deal, it's the ground. I'm not going to say it's shaky, but you've got to be able to win the Magic City. So I think there's some pressure on Dr. Ely, even though he just got a new deal. And then number 3 is Dawson Odums, obviously. Lost 10 of 11 to Alcorn, even though he won the Bayou Classic the last couple of years. 2 straight Western Division titles. I mean, he's done some good things. He's really carried the program through some tough times and the longest-serving coach. But you can't get the program over the big hump, which is Alcorn and winning the West. And the West might be tougher with Alcorn coming into the West in 21. And you're going to get a couple more cracks at Alcorn, including one at your place coming up in the 2021 season. But Dawson Odums, from my understanding, Carlos, you can verify this, his contract is good through the end of the calendar year of 21, which is 2 football seasons. So he's going to get 2 cracks at Alcorn at least. And and he has to be able to get it done. And I think right now, even though personally, I think that Dawson Odums has done enough to get a little bit of a longer deal. And you and I have been going at this for a while now. But I think it does come to a point in which, for the Jaguar Nation, you're going to get over the hump or you're not. Now, are you willing to take some steps back before you could probably take steps forward? Meaning, if you move on from Dawson Odums, whatever coach you get, even though you struggle with Alcorn, the next coach beats Alcorn but struggles with Grambling. I mean, are you willing to take 3 or 4 steps back to go 10 steps forward down the road? I think some Jaguar fans are probably ready to make that investment. But I would say that the 3 coaches that's under the hottest seat is Dooley one. I think even though a new deal for Ely, it's a little bit of comfort, but he's got to win the Magic City. And then Dawson Odums, number 3. Those are the 3 hottest seats to me. And I would say Dawson Odums' seat is warm right now only because of the calendar. He's going to have 2 seasons, 2 full football seasons to try to turn things around. But I think Dooley won for sure. And I think with Ely, it's all about winning that Magic City to make Bama State fans feel comfortable, and then they can kind of go from there.
So a listener says, Odums beat Alcorn or leave. Wow.
Well,
what you know, and the way this thing's gonna come out, actually, he says, just kidding, just win, and that's the bottom line. You got Dooley number 1 from the outside looking in. You know, when you look at what he brought into it as far as being a national assistant coach of the year, came in, defeated Grambling State twice, and he's going into year 3, correct, gentlemen? Going into year 3? Okay. I would think also that's been deadly for him, 0-2 against Southern, 0-2 against Alcorn State, but 0-2 against Jackson State. And yeah, and so those games really, to me, is when I really noticed people were really starting to like, wait a minute, what's going on? And with that being said, that's all I'm going to say about Coach Dooley at Prairie View A&M. Spring season, 2021, fall 2021. Ely Hill, 1-year extension, right? 1-year deal to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't say he deserved more, because you tend to give people more than 1 year. So we've had debates, you've argued against me. You hadn't threatened me, but you're basically saying that you cannot give people 1-year extensions. Well, and I think we also debated about new coaches and getting a 4-year contract, or over 2 years. So a 1-year extension tells me all I need to know. It's kind of like Jackson State men's basketball coach, a 1-year deal. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and I'll add this as far as Dr. Ely is concerned. Now, people got to keep in mind that Dr. Ely was a part of the Brian Jenkins administration. So when you look at that situation and you look at what he did, of course he's no longer there. So I think when you're part of kind of the old guard, there's a tendency to kind of take the broom and sweep it clean. So he's probably the last piece in that whole regime. And I think again, and sometimes you get swept up, good or bad, in the politics. We're in a political season, but when it comes to ADs, presidents, and football coaches, when you get a changing at the top, and you look at Prairie View, they have a relatively new athletic director. And so he's looking at Coach Dooley and is like, yeah, he's done some good things, but you got a new stadium still. You got a rabid fan base that's looking to raise the bar. And Dooley's done some good things, but he's come up short in a lot of different ways. So you know how it works. When you get a new AD, that person, he or she, is looking to make their mark, bring in their own coaches. So you have to throw that into the mix as well. Again, Dewey's done some good things, but some things that he hasn't done. And then Ely, a part of the old guard, even though you have Ms. Williams, the athletic director there. I think it's safe to say that the Magic City is what it's all about. If he wins the Magic City, then I'm sure they'll take a longer look at Dr. Ely long term, especially if he wins some other games. But if not, then that 1 year deal, you may not get much more through that.
Wow. Am I wrong? But Magic City Classic, I can't say anything bad about that. But man, I think their goal, and I'm sure their goal is to win the Magic City Classic, but do much better. Hey, second place finish wouldn't be bad. Would not. It actually would not. Say like they were run-ups in the Eastern Division, and then consistently, playing for a championship. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, they got a long way to go in my opinion. I think first of all they have to win the Magic City. Now you have to keep in mind now. I mean, some things are out of your control, but Alabama State had quarterback issues last year, injuries, and I know it may be an excuse, but they beat Jackson State last year with their third string quarterback. Actually, in the Alcorn game, they lost their first string quarterback. So that was a problem with them last year, and they had injury issues here there. And you may call that an excuse, but it's just the reality of what they were dealing with last year. They're going to have to stay healthy. They're going to have a productive quarterback in order to get it done in the East with Alcorn especially. But they're going to, I think, and it's crazy as it sounds. I mean, if you talk to Bama State fans and A&M fans, that's all I hear when you go to Alabama. We got to win the Magic City, period. Point blank, period, comma, exclamation mark. And if you do that, then the rest is gravy. I think what helped Dr. Ely last year, and in part, he beat Grambling. And that was a huge win that kind of threw a lot of conversation. And then the fact that he beat Tuskegee last year, that's something else that I was told. And again, I mean, I hate to say it, you don't want anybody to lose their job, but if he had lost to A&M and Tuskegee, we might not be having this conversation. But he beat Tuskegee, he beat Grambling, even though he lost to A&M. So that kind of helped tip the scales in his favor to get some more time there. But he's got to do a little better. He's got to beat the big game. He's got to win the big game.
Now I'd like to hear that a little bit better, because you look at the body of work that's been done. The decision by those on top basically said, based on what I've seen, 1 year is all you get. And if you had a couple of run-up spots, I guarantee you it'd be more than 1 year extension. But hey, call me Mr. Hard Ass. I'm so unfair. Oh, speaking of that, Edwards says win the championship. If that includes beating Alcorn or not, just become champs again. So every institution, right, Charles, their fans want championships. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
Some are closer than others. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Can you see certain fan bases, and not to say that that's the only fan base that's starving for a championship, but talking about Dooley, Ely here, and Odums, out of the three, he would be the closest to the championship based on what he's done, right?
Dawson Odums, yes.
Okay.
Southern's done everything but hoist that Swac championship trophy and go to Atlanta. And I can just use an example, me and you and Dr. Cavill, Celebration Bowl. You said something very profound. We go down on the field and watch the team practice. And I'm sure you remember this. You said, man, I wish Southern was here. That's all. I mean, just the Jaguars getting there. Of course, they like to win the game. But just being a Southern fan, a Southern supporter, you cover Southern, and just to watch your team there in that game means the world to the Jaguar Nation. So the fact that they're not there, they haven't been there, that's the only thing left as far as Dawson Odums is concerned. He'll get more time if he gets there. He'll get a lot more time if he wins the game. So I think that's all that Southern has to do. It's not going to be easy. I mean, they host Alcorn, and they still got to go through that gauntlet in the West with Grambling and all that. But they're so close. And the question is, are you willing to tear down a little bit to get there? Because if you make a change, that's the risk that you take. It's a risk reward. So it's a tough decision Roman Banks has to make, but he doesn't have to make it right now.
And I'm reminded of, I don't have enough time to put this in context, but you familiar with the eye wall of a hurricane? The eye?
Yeah.
That wall collapsed, and then another one comes back, in the process.
Yeah.
That's what I look about. When you ask me about, are you willing to, the fan part of me, willing to take a chance, if it doesn't work out and you bring somebody in, yep. I don't speak for myself. Just a simple yes. But I can go further on that at another time. Well, Charles, I appreciate the conversation. Dooley, Ely Hill, and Odums under the most pressure for the upcoming 2021 spring and fall season. Continue to be safe, and we'll talk again real soon.
All right, you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. That was Charles Ettman of the Alcorn State Radio Network. I want to thank Jim Kleinpeter, contributing writer for The Advocate, and Coach Van Pettaway. Remember, folks, support Black media. If you want to make a donation, if you feel it's worthy to the Carlos Brown Show, you can do it, Cash App, the Carlos Brown Show. But support all Black media. Dr. Prince, quickly, I'm sure you guys, are you going to have Pittsburgh Steelers coach on tomorrow night?
Well, I'm going to have the next best thing. I'm going to have Brandon B.J. Jones.
Football.
Yes, sir. It's got to be about the pigskin.
And tell Coach Dooley, I'll tell him myself, I'm going to text him. Great answer. See, I've got to make people think and talk about Prairie View and them football. Sound like he's ready for the challenge.
Sound like he is, my man. But, you got to get out there and make it happen. You got to get out there and make it happen.
Yes. I want to thank Dr. Michael Prince, producer of today's show. Make sure you tune in next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Until next time, as always, peace and God bless.